we have a very special treat for our episode 4 recap of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, we have my best friend in all of the world. We've had so many adventures together from like the wee hours at some rando bar in the meatpacking district in Manhattan to
Mm-hmm.
fishing for mahi in Key
Mm-hmm.
West to talking about Star Wars for hours to going to the midnight showing of Aquaman.
Oh, and we saw it at a at one of those theaters where you sit down and they feed you food, and it couldn't have been any more just awkward with your happy Miami people
Oh my
clapping in
God.
the middle of movies.
I know, clapping and like, of course, like you can order drinks as well. And I don't remember if you ordered a drink. I definitely
I,
ordered a drink.
oh, I definitely ordered a drink. I ordered Lee a drink, and as you know, my beautiful wife drinks this much and she's sick. So,
Well, so yes, listeners, I am obsessed with his wife,
uh,
Lee. I was a groomsman in their wedding. I even went to Lee's bachelorette party
you
as
did,
well.
you did go to her bachelorette
I
party.
did
That's
go to
not
her.
fair.
Yeah, I went to both. I think I'm the only one who went to both. Yeah. And look, I mean, please welcome the ever outspoken, the insane, my soul brother, the wonderful Mr. Magoo.
Thank you, Paul.
I know
I
that's not your
appreciate it.
real name, of course.
It's not. It's not. It's not my real name, but I love it. I love Mr. Magoo.
Do you really? I didn't know that.
So like that, you had like Steve Martin that did like a rething of it, and I always think about him with like his windshield, like just completely focused for his glasses. Super funny.
I had to Google the character because I didn't know who that was, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was Magatu from Zoolander.
Oh, that would have been much funnier. Next time I'll be Mr. Magato. That's it.
um, you were a myth for most of my life. The way we know each other is you're also best friends with my cousin,
Mm-hmm.
who is going to be on the podcast soon. I'm forgetting what his mutant name is. I think it's like Toad Stomper
It
or
is
something.
Toad Stomper.
It
He
is
brought
Toad.
that up today.
Oh yeah, that's right. And he kept saying like, "Oh, my friend Phil, my friend Phil," and like we would show up at like a bar or something, and he'd be like, "Where's Phil? Phil's already gone."
I was in like San Antonio, or like, oh no, Phil can't make it tonight because he's going to some sort of get together, and it's like it had to be three, four, five, six times, and then finally I met you,
Yeah.
and my gift to you at the wedding was a mug, and I titled you Paul the Myth because
Yes.
of that.
I love it. Dude, your wedding was probably one of my favorite weddings ever. I
Ah,
mean, I loved your bachelor party. That was so much fun. And then your wedding was on South Beach and you gave everyone lightsabers.
yes, I did.
Oh man,
Everybody got their complimentary lightsaber. Unfortunately,
I
the battery's out, so I can't show it off. But
I just hung these two posters here of Rogue and Gambit. But in
mm,
this corner, I had the lightsabers from your wedding, and Jeff was so jealous that we went up and we stole one of the lightsabers from the bridal party.
that's fine. That's fine. I can't say that they're going around like swinging the lightsabers. So more power
Yeah.
to you guys.
I forgot what in my lightsaber, I got the red one
Hmm.
and it went out. It was like flickering.
Oh,
Do you
and like I just
remember?
remember it kept on like turning off and on, and it was like making some like weird sound, like creepy sound. Yeah,
Yeah, it was like malfunctioning there. And then I was with Nicole, who is Georgie, my cousin's wife, and she would be like, "Turn it on, turn it on." I'm like, "I am turning it on."
if only lightsabers just turned on that easy in real life.
God. But your wedding was so much fun. You also ordered socks for us to wear of
I did.
superheroes, and
Which one did you get?
I got Phoenix. You
I
got me
did give you
Phoenix.
Phoenix. That's right. They did have a Phoenix one. I'm not going to do the plug for the company, but Stan's had these like themed Marvel ones. I got Thanos. I think you got Phoenix. I think somebody got Lucas got the Hulk.
Yeah.
George got Deadpool. Or
Oh,
no,
you got
Steve got
Deadpool.
Deadpool. Steve got Deadpool, and I think he got either Captain America or Spider Man. One of those two.
I think it was Captain America. I remember Captain America.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But it was a great time, and I loved how you leaned into who you were with those like little touches.
Oh yeah,
And
it's super important.
and so you're like, dude, I mean, this is an X-Men podcast, but we're gonna be talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about Star Wars.
Oh, I mean, if this was, I mean, sure. What do you want to talk about? I can talk about Star Wars for hours.
I mean, first of all, I put it out there for the Power of X-Men community. I was like, yo, guys, like my best friend is going to be on. He's a big Star Wars stan. What questions do you have? And literally, you probably got the most questions that have come in for an episode.
I love the nerd community. No matter where we are, we all support each other. I'm sure some people like anti DC or anti X-Men. It's
Yeah.
like, no, we all appreciate little things. And like Star Treks, I don't discriminate against Star Trek people. More
Yeah,
power
same.
to them. But I bleed Star Wars. I can't help it.
No, no, that's great. And I wanted to put you in the hot seat. So I was like, give me some like of your hot takes. And like, dude, like they blew up and they're fun. I can't wait to read them. We can't read them all, unfortunately, but I'll pick some of the more juicier ones.
Perfect.
But before we dive into that, I want to know, what was your earliest memory of Star Wars?
Hmm. My first memory of Star Wars had to be when I was like 5 or 6 and I was in elementary school. And I know it was Star Wars. I just know it was a Star Wars conversation. And for the longest time, I thought Darth Vader was Dark Vader. And as a child, that just makes the most sense. You're like, oh, Dark Vader. And then some like, I don't know, kid out of nowhere goes like, oh, it's Darth Vader. And I'm like, you're an idiot. What the hell kind of name is Darth Vader? And like, lo and behold, this was before the internet. I had to go watch Star Wars as a child, and it just blew my mind. And I was like, oh my God, they are saying Darth Vader. I'm a stupid 5-year-old.
I
That
love
is
that you
my,
were sassed by a 5-year-old contemporary.
oh yeah. Because, kids are just like brutally honest. And to each other, it's just like, there's no filter. So it
Well,
was
it's
great.
probably like, I mean, Miami, man, like I have a lot of holes in my education, and one of them is exactly that. I used to say Dark Vader as well. I mean, what else
As a
are you
child,
like as a child? My God, probably even until I was like 21, like
did you ever get checked for something X-Men? Like you thought a name or you thought something was a certain way, and then it just hit you back like, oh my God, you're totally right.
yeah, not in real life, not in
Okay.
because I was kind of like a lone wolf when it came to my fandom. Like, on Calle Ocho right there on Coral Way, like there are no comic book stores or like X-Men stands there, man.
There
Like,
is not.
and my abuelita being like, ay, mira eso muñecos, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
Like
I didn't
they're not
really,
muñecos.
they're not muñecos, abuela. Like, I don't know why I have to explain this to you. Um, no, but like, I think the only thing I can think of off the top of my head right now is that there's a character called Strife,
Mm-hmm.
who is a clone of Cable.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, my very young head, I used to say Star Sapphire because of the DC character. That's how I kind of pronounced it. I couldn't pronounce Strife. But when
Got
I
it.
got, of age, and yeah, so I kind of like overlap those names there. But
Got it.
yeah, man, like it's fandom in South Florida was a very interesting thing. How did you, I feel Star Wars was a bit more mainstream though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. It's like I don't know. Now Disney's had it since who knows how long, and now that Disney has Marvel in some capacity, it's just like everybody now hears about it, right? And so like all the kids from nowadays will probably grow up with Marvel the same way that we grew up with like Star Wars and other things back in
And
the day.
Batman.
And Batman, yeah,
Batman,
exactly.
like the Tim Burton films and the Joel Schumacher ones, and
Tim
even the
Burton was the
Nolan
one with
ones.
like Penguin, right?
Yeah,
Like
Batman
those
Returns.
yeah, those are good.
Yeah, yeah, you're a couple years younger than me, so Batman Begins would be more your childhood, and for me, it was more college.
Yeah, like the Riddler and like Tommy Lee Jones and
Oh
Jim
my
Carrey. Like talk
God.
about great casting on like for a character. I thought Jim Carrey as the Riddler was like, wow.
It was so good, man, but I watched those movies recently. They're not good, but they're fun. You know
Yes,
what I
yes,
mean?
very fair.
But
I'll absolutely agree.
But in Miami, everyone was talking about Batman. Everyone was talking about, Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men, yeah, of course, they talked about the animated show, but we
Mm-hmm.
did not talk about the comic books. And that's where I gravitated towards. And no one really talked about it. But on the idea of Star Wars, I'm curious, what is it about Star Wars that resonates with you so much?
You know, so I'm glad. I'm glad I can nerd out here. This is great. For me,
This is
it's
a
just
safe space.
thanks, man. Thanks. Nobody. No, man. It's just like I love that it completely separates. Like I can go into a Star Wars world in my head and then just be there and stay there and just like go through scenarios, go through like nuances of it, and I just enjoy it, and I just love getting lost in the idea of what it is. And like my so before I studied like finance and all this other crazy stuff, I studied like early European history, like Greek mythology, early like medieval history and all that. And so like if you look at all of the kind of stories that are in Star Wars, you'll hear a lot of like relationships between like historical wars, historical, mythological items and key things in history. And so like I think that's what resonates with me, that it's not just someone that just wrote some, crazy stuff about like, in the stars. It's like there's all these hidden kind of romantic storylines from back in the day weaved into it. And so that just resonates, man. I like that there's depth to it. I like that there's thought process. And like you think of like the X-Men world again, it's like the same way. It's like there's just so much depth, there's so many things intertwined, and you can just run on whatever tangents that you want to go on and just get lost.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to someone in Spain earlier today, and he asked me the question, what separates comic books from traditional literature? And I was like, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the North mythology. It's the Shakespearean
Mm-hmm.
ideologies there. It's the Greek mythologies
Mm-hmm.
that work there. And when you think of Star Wars, you think of the boy on the farm who goes off to see the wizard,
Yeah.
and he has daddy issues,
Yes.
and he's an orphan, and he's destined to be the greatest leader in the world. And he has a secret sister who is leading a rebellion. It's very political.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with exactly what you just said. I think it's because at the core of it, it's just a really good story that's been told in a very clever way.
Yeah. And I mean, I mean, I don't know about you. I grew up on Disney movies, right? Talk
Yeah.
about parent issues, daddy issues, mommy issues. They kill the parents like every 5 minutes into every single movie. But it's the same thing. It's like you have this hidden thing inside of you, and it's your choice on what you want to do with that hidden power, right? And so, like we'll talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier later. There's like quote from that hit me today, and it's like having more power just exonerates more of who you are. That's all that power does. So whether you're a weakling or strong, getting an infusion of power is going to amplify whatever characteristic resonates with you. And I think that just goes right back into Star Wars.
Well, first of all, I agree wholeheartedly with you, especially in this episode. That's a theme that they weren't even trying to hide,
Mm-mm.
because point blank, they say, well, it didn't corrupt Steve.
Yeah.
And at the end of the episode, spoiler alert, if you're listening to this, you know it, we're going to talk about it in great detail. But John Walker with the shield, with that bloody fucking shield.
And like it's the upward angle. You notice how they do the upward angle, the shield bloody on the bottom. He's staring off into the beyond. Like you're just like, I don't think I've ever seen blood on that shield.
No, I agree. I had the same exact thought. I was like, I've never seen that shield with blood. And it's just so symbolic of how he isn't Captain America.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And yeah, I agree. Like once you get power, that's when your native personality really gets fleshed out, and you're either a good person or you're not. And we saw that with Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
Although I guess, as we'll discuss later in one of the listener questions, perhaps Anakin was seduced by
Mm,
Palpatine, but
mm.
Luke, his native personality was to gravitate towards the light.
That's right. That's right. That's absolutely right.
So, what are your feels on the original trilogy? I
I
think
mean,
I know the answer.
it's just nostalgia, man. I mean, you can't knock the originals. I think,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna even rank the movies, A New Hope for me is cool. I like it. It's just because it's just like it's where it all started. But I mean, I love The Empire Strikes Back, and I love the Return of the Jedi. I mean, just the interlinking, just all the like the story got deeper in those movies. I think it's a perfect example of how somebody took the second and third movies and just went super deep with the stories, really pulled out all the nuances. And honestly, my third favorite movie, even after the original trilogy, is like Rogue One. Like I
I love Rogue
love
One.
Rogue One, man. I just think it's like talk about the feels, and the last 5 minutes of that movie, 10 minutes, is just like you thought the movie climax, and then you
Yeah.
just want a roller coaster that just took you in and out. And like outside of like Rogue One, like that's what like the Empire. Like I fall asleep, no joke. I fall asleep 2, 3 nights out of every single week just watching Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back. Like
I didn't know
that's
that.
Yeah, that's like my like it's either what's it called World War II in color, it's either what's it called World War II in color, or it's like yeah, the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I just have those, like that helps me fall asleep because I can, like, when I fall asleep, I can hear it as I sleep, and I'll wake up at like certain parts of the movie like, why am I dreaming about, no, like it's getting my hand cut off. Oh, it's because that's that scene with Luke just screaming.
What does Lee say about that?
Oh, she's whatever. It puts me to sleep, and she doesn't have to deal with me anymore. And like,
Yeah.
she's a trooper, man. She like I don't. She grew up watching Star Wars, but like she appreciates that like I'm that passionate about things. You know what I mean? So I mean, she knows that I love something, so that's got to count for something.
I love that you have baby Yoda there with the Mandalorian, like
Oh yeah.
framed.
Oh, it's a puzzle, by the way. You want to talk about a horrible puzzle? Oh, I can't. We have like it's stuck on the
It's
wall. But these puzzles, Lee and I spent probably 2 weeks doing this puzzle. And the
oh my
reason being is
God.
the pieces are probably like that small each. And so the problem here is, if you notice, everything in the top right corner to the screen, left on my side,
Hmm.
beautiful colors. You can see the difference. When you
Yeah.
start going into the Mandalorian, it's all just the same color brown, like shit brown. So the problem is, now all of a sudden you're trying to put all these pieces together, and it's just god awful trying to, like, every single piece has the same exact color, and we just spent probably, I don't know, 2 weeks just trying to do that one corner. It was horrible.
That's his. I haven't done a puzzle in a minute. I like the last puzzle I did was some kind of 3D windmill puzzle back in like 2013. But
Mm-hmm.
Grogu looks so adorable there. Like,
Oh yeah, here we'll get him up here.
and it took me
Hmm.
oh, look at those eyes. It took me a second there though to realize you had it there. And you also have the Age of Apocalypse trades there.
Ooh yeah, man. I got the let me see if I can get those all on here right
Oh
now.
man, and you even have the recent ones as well.
Yeah, I
Like
got
you went
everything from the
deep.
beginning. I got the basically the backstory. It talks
Yeah.
about after the age of apocalypse, how do they recover from it? All those. It's super
Yeah,
good.
I remember when you were like, I'm building my geek room because you just bought a beautiful house and I'm gonna be living there every time I go home now. But I was like, here, you want a classic X-Men story that's really good? Here's Legion's Quest. And it's gonna go right into the most epic X-Men story
Yeah,
ever.
so I'm not gonna lie, I didn't cheat, but I read I because I didn't know who Legion was. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd never heard of Legion. And like you start learning about him and you're just like, oh my God, it goes right back to the thing that we are talking about earlier. The
Yeah.
depth and like the conflict there, and like why he is the way he is, what the relationship is with, the Xavier. It's like it's just intense, and it's just like I love it. I love all those crazy aspects of it, man.
Well, and even the dramatic irony when he goes to kill Magneto.
Magneto, and just blows everything up.
Yeah, and he kills Xavier, and then like that's it. Like everything blows up, and like the whole world gets redone.
And
And
that's what I like want to figure out is like, because I know everybody knows Apocalypse Now is what the movies are, right?
Mhm.
And it has some sort of tying into the Sentinels and what have you. But it's like, why couldn't they do this story? Is this just like a third timeline of things happened? Is this just too complicated and too much backstory? And they were just like, screw it, we can't do this. Like,
It's not. It's just because they're not good writers or directors or executives who let a story marinate. Like Dark Phoenix is a perfect example of what you just said. Dark
yeah,
Phoenix is not a complicated story. You just need to let the story marinate. Jean Grey
yeah.
becomes a Phoenix. You establish how she is on the team, why people love her. Then you see her getting corrupted. Then she goes Dark Phoenix and then she dies. So you
I
feel that hero's journey for her. You don't
I
just do
never.
a one and done movie.
Oh, and that's what hurt is like I felt like Dark Phoenix should have been equivalent to uh Dark Phoenix should have been equivalent to like in the Infinity Wars, right?
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
100%. We've talked about that. Like
yeah,
it's all roads need to lead to the Phoenix. You know what I
yeah,
mean? When it
yeah,
comes to the X-Men, it's an epic story. Tell it
yeah.
right. Why wouldn't you want to tell it right?
And it's like I felt like they just put it out there, like, fuck it, just do it, right? And it's
Yeah.
just like you never see, like, what was it? Like she turned into the Phoenix because she was just upset. She just went to like five different people within the movie, like, why am I mad? Why am I angry? And it's so bad because Sophie Turner is like actually a good actress, just like shitty writing, in my
No.
opinion. So
No,
I don't
she's
know.
a fantastic actress. I have no quarrels with her being Jean Grey. I
Hmm.
have quarrels with the direction, but that's another side tangent. And
Sorry,
listeners,
my bad, my bad. I won't, I won't,
no,
I won't poke the, I won't poke Phoenix.
no, 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 no. I told you, like you're coming on, and it's like us at a bar getting drunk,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and this is
yeah,
an organic flow in the
yeah.
conversation. But I did record an episode with Ascani's son where we got drunk and we compared X3 to Dark Phoenix. So listeners, that will be coming out in the coming weeks. But okay, I have a question for you about
Oh,
the prequels
oh,
because I don't hate the prequels.
I don't
And what are
either.
your feels on them? You tell me.
Yeah, I appreciate the story, and I think it's just one of those unfortunate things that how he gets to where he is, but nobody, if you didn't read the comics, if you didn't like read the stories, like you never
Mhm.
really understood the downfall, right?
Yeah.
Everybody hates on Hayden Christensen. I don't
Yeah.
know why. Is he your typical puppy-eyed, good-looking guy? Sure, and like I don't think that he was a bad actor. I think it's you get what you get for that role. I don't think anybody would have ever been happy with those movies. I appreciate them for what they are. Now, I think where the movies kind of lost their core is it turned into a new digital age. So I felt
Yeah.
like they spent more time trying to digitally wow the audience versus the story, and I actually liked the number three. Number three was great.
Revenge of the Sith.
And then the Phantom Menace. Darth Maul's badass, but Qui-Gon Jinn was great. I thought that was a great cast. I think Ewan McGregor was great for the role. I don't know if you can really. I personally can't hate on them because I love the movie so much. I appreciate the story. You know what I mean?
I watched The Phantom Menace a couple of years ago, and my adult reaction to it was, okay, there are some parts that are obviously pandering to a younger audience, but
Yes.
it's not a bad story. You
No.
know, it's a very deep political story, and I thought the Padme, Queen Amidala,
I love
re
Natalie
but
Portman.
I love Natalie Portman too. And by the way, Natalie Portman, great actress. Star Wars, not her best work because it's exactly what you said. You know the kind of pedigree you're getting
Yes.
for
Yes.
these
Yes.
movies. I think you
Absolutely.
had people like Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher who are actors of a certain age and
Hmm.
generation,
Hmm.
and that's why their skills translated a bit better than probably Natalie and Hayden. And I can say that
Yeah.
because it's like I know them or I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I don't hate on them. I don't. I'm thinking like my favorite one was probably Clone Wars, only because I was at that right age with it, like
Yeah.
the forbidden romance and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, like everything that happens in like the third and fourth act are really good. I think the part where they go to Naboo just kind of like is boring to me.
Yeah.
Like the same thing in Revenge of the Sith, like the whole scene where like Natalie Portman starts like crying and stuff at the end. I'm just kind of like over it. Like just get to the fight, get to the cool stuff, get to the story. Let me see the part where he goes,
Anakin,
no.
Anakin, the battle's over. I have the high ground. Okay.
Listen, you have to appreciate that gem. You know how many memes we have because of that? If that
I
didn't
know it's a
exist and
lot.
he just sliced up Anakin, that's no fun. Think about how much content we have thanks to that written scene.
I love how positive you are. Like, I mean, I guess like when we really have our in-depth like conversations, I'm just like really drunk or drinking and being like, nice, Phil. But like listening to you here, I'm like, wow, man, like you're not bad for a bitch with no talent.
Thanks, man. Thanks. My wife says the same thing. Don't worry.
No, but I agree with you. I think we get a lot of memes from it, and it's fun. And I've said this to other people who like DM Power of X-Men, and we're sort of chatting about it, and they want my feels on stuff, and they kind of want to like almost start a fight. Like you can just read it in the text, and I was like,
Yeah,
dude, at a certain point, you're just turning off your brain, and you can either pick apart these stories or you can just enjoy them
that's it.
for what
That's
they are.
that's all it is. Like, and we can talk about the new trilogy, and it's the same thing. Like, can you
Yeah.
pick these apart? Absolutely. Are you ever going to write anything that's going to appease the masses? No. But you know what? It's just like I appreciate them for what they are. What about I have a big theory. I can't get upset about the things I can't control. Right?
Oh, that's lovely.
Am I going to call the directors and be like, hey guys, this is Phil Garth here. You don't know who I am. I'm a really big fan, not like anybody else is. I want you to go back and write the movies all over again and recast this for me. No, it's not going to freaking happen. So as a result, like I can bitch about it for the next 80 years that I'm on this earth, or I can enjoy it and not ruin it for my kids. And in fact, promote and be like, oh my God, kids, isn't this so great? They would never know the difference. So
Do you know who Gabrielle Union is?
of course I do.
Yeah, she's married to what's that guy's name again? The Heat player?
Dwayne Wade, the guy you had no idea of. Like we said Wade County, and you're like, what's Wade County?
What's
And it's like,
Wade County?
Jesus Christ, Paul.
But she said something which she did an epic interview recently with Gwyneth Paltrow from Goop. By the way, I think that's a difference. Like you are Wade County and I'm Goop. You know what
Yes.
I mean? But we
Yes.
somehow make it work. But Gabrielle Union said that when she first came on the scene and she was in Hollywood and she was going to parties, and there was this other actress who walked in, and it's kind of like all the air got sucked down and all eyes were on her, and she got really jealous and she started bitching about her, like just picking her apart. And her friend turned to her and was like, "Do you feel better now? Did you get that role you never got?
Right.
Like, are you taller? Are you gonna get married to someone now? Like, no, you literally just threw so much hate, and the only thing you did right now is out yourself as a
That's
hater."
right.
You know?
That's exactly right. That's all that's
Yeah.
going to get written about you. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, it all you are is positive. I don't bother myself with things that don't involve me, things that don't touch me. Or like what can I do? You know, there's the world is all on fire right now. It's like I'm going to control my circle and make sure that that's what I can do the best about, and push that energy into the world as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's, dude, the reason why Power of X-Men exists is because I wanted to move away from those vitriolic conversations that are on fandoms. You know, like you go on an X-Men message board and God forbid you say one thing that's not 100% accurate. It's just your interpretation of something.
Just filleted.
And you get flayed and you're like, dude, like I'm trying to gain my sanity during a global pandemic. You know what I mean? And again, even like with other iterations of fandom, people are just savage and they're mean. And, you know, it
Yeah.
takes a while. And I'm very proud of Power of X-Men. You know, there was a previous podcast before called Generations of X, and it was a great
Mhm.
podcast. But Power of X-Men is a community where there's no hate, man. You know what I mean? Like, and
No,
it's
I
just
get it.
celebrate the fandom. And I always have to tell creators when they're coming on, like, I'm sending you questions in advance. I'm not going to give you a gotcha question unless you're Mr. Magoo. And I purposely ask for awful questions.
Yeah.
But,
Try me. I'll try. I'll fake it
but,
till I make it.
but like, yeah, the level of anger geared towards, you know, a property you love and the creators behind it, I don't get that either. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and that being said, though, you can say something is bad.
That's
It's okay to
fine.
say something's bad. Like
Uh,
some stories are shit.
guess what? I'm going to light up your fan base now. Then I'm going to say something. I like Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern. You know
I
what?
didn't hate the
I
movie.
watch. I didn't hate the movie. I'll watch. Dude, it's on like TBS at like 1 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, I can watch this for a couple hours. It's not bad.
I watched the movie. I didn't hate it. I
Yeah.
love Blake Lively in it.
Yes.
I don't think it was terrible. I'd have to watch it again and like understand it.
Yeah.
But I walked out of the theater being like, yeah, that was. I like Green Lantern a lot.
Right.
Though. I like the comics, but I'm not a diehard stan. But
No, I agree. I agree. No, and
yeah,
I'm looking forward to like. I hope they reboot it, and I hope they do it in the new DC world because I feel like it's like darker. I like the darker side of this stuff. You know.
yeah. Well, the Snyder Cut. How did you?
Ooh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
We
I
haven't talked
enjoyed it a
about
lot.
that yet. Well, we texted while we were watching it, but I don't think I
Mm-hmm.
got your final feels on it.
My feels were good. My feels were
Yeah.
very positive, but we'll save that for another discussion.
That's for another episode. All right. So, best Star Wars movie.
Yeah. So if which one? I think I got to go with the very cliche and supported Empire Strikes Back. I think it's just the best movie. I think it's just, Han Solo's great in it. The story is just, the shock and awe in it is great, and I think it just perfectly teed up a following movie. So like even as a standalone movie, I think it's fantastic. My runner up is going to be Rogue One or Return of the Jedi, just
Mhm.
because I mean I loved, and the only reason I put maybe Return of the Jedi above um, Rogue One is just because of the nostalgia. But I mean, I loved Rogue One, man. Rogue One is just like knit and gritty. It's in the Star Wars universe. It has like all the same characteristics. But I mean, that's how I would do my one, two, three.
And it's a beautiful celebration of
Mm-hmm.
the Star Wars fandom, like the shots of them on the beach and the Death Star rising. Like that's someone whoever did the CGI for that, they loved Star
Dude, I'm
Wars.
getting goosebumps you just
Like,
talking about it. It's just
yeah,
like ooh, just seeing that. Like, could you imagine something like that in person, Paul?
yeah.
Like, imagine you looked out your New York, New Jersey, like skyline, and just a fucking huge ass like moon just
I'm
comes
like
out.
shit. Shit, I need
Deuces.
vodka. Jesus. I need some vodka now. Um, yeah, I loved it. I remember being surprised because I'm a Star Wars stan, but I'm not a diehard stan, and I'm only a stan recently. So I remember when I went to the movie, and of course, Jeff, my husband, loves Star Wars. And I was like, this is probably the best movie I have ever seen out of the franchise
Yeah,
because it was so great.
I would say
And,
it's probably Lee's favorite movie was Rogue One. I think that's the one that she enjoyed the most.
oh,
You
really?
know.
Yeah.
What about you, man? Which one would you kind of put up at the top?
So when I watched it originally, I really liked Last Jedi. Is
Mm-hmm.
it Last Jedi? Yeah, because then it was Rise
Return
of
of the Jedi.
Skywalker. No,
Oh, Rise. Oh, yeah, got you.
is
Yeah,
it the
Last
Rian Johnson
Jedi.
one?
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi, the Last
Yep.
Jedi. And I thought it was a smart script. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
really well done. When I went back and watched it as a Star Wars fan, I can understand the backlash that came from it. And I know that sounds like a very PC answer, but again, it's two very different approaches. Like one, like, oh, I thought that was actually a really compelling story.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, well, let me put on my Star Wars stand here. I was like, yeah, I do think saying that Ray is a nobody is kind of like fuck off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's the Star Wars franchise. I mean, it's something that's really powerful about it. It's a story about family as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
And those complicated relationships you have. I think they should have just kept that. I don't know how you felt about Rise of Skywalker, but like I felt the Palpatine stuff was shoehorned in. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you fucked up, Ray. Like, just take her in a different. That was Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams trying to course correct something, make the fans happy, and I think it blew up in their faces a
I
little
think
bit.
so too. Yeah, I, you had two options. You had The Last Jedi and
Mhm.
continue down that path, or you should have done The Rise of Skywalker as number 8 and gone down that path. You can't introduce Palpatine in the last movie and just say, "Aha,
Yeah,
surprise!"
he's
I
been
mean,
here this entire
I
time.
get it. I get what they did. To your point, it's a course correction. That's the I go back to that's the story we have now. That's the one I got to appreciate, and that's the one I got to go in my head. And it hurts.
I just wish the new trilogy would have just focused on the big three characters,
Yeah, I agree.
Luke, Han, and Leia. Like, focus their story and then have other characters that you will probably revisit, but give a chance to end whatever story you wanted to say. I think having them play second fiddle, I think that's what pissed everyone off.
I
I
agree.
think Mandalorian season two,
Mm.
that ending, oh my God. That's what you
So,
want of Luke Skywalker.
oh yeah, because Luke is a badass. So in like the
Yeah.
books, Luke is a freaking badass dude. And
Yeah.
then like on top of that, I don't know if you realize it. If you ever play the end of Rogue One in parallel to the last episode of The Mandalorian, check that out. You'll
Okay.
see the comparison of how Luke fighting all the droids and the people in the Mandalorian compared to the end of the Mandalorian where Vader is just like going like balls to the wall
Yeah.
are so similar. And it
Oh,
goes
really?
back to that theme of like the balance of like light or dark. You're doing the same thing in some way, shape, or form, but it's super cool. And when you see that, it's just awesome, 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 man.
Well, and I also think that's why Rogue One was so great because that ending, you saw Darth Vader as a threat,
As a
like
badass.
like a badass. Like before, he was just like, "Oh, I'm your father," and like and then Hayden Christensen, who
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
he just didn't have a chance to really flex his role as Darth Vader or Dark Vader,
yeah. Thank you,
and
thank you, thank you.
in Miami, he's Darth Vader.
That's
Uh,
right. Dark Vader.
Dark Vader. But yeah, that's why I think like you're like shit. He's scary. Like Vader is a scary force. He's not just some man with like a voice changer. This guy can like kill
Uh,
you.
and I love that he still has his joking personality when he's like, "Don't choke on your aspirations," and he's like choking the director. Oh, I love that.
Oh, that
Love
was
that.
so
Love
great.
that, man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was really great. I haven't seen those comparison shots, but I'm going to do that. Mr. Magoo, you are one of. Well, I know I've had plenty of straight guys on the podcast, but none that I can ask such a really complicated, gross question to. So I'm going to ask you a shag, marry, kill because I'm
Mm.
curious. A shag, marry, kill. Leia, Ray, and Padme.
Shag, Mary, kill.
So you can spend one night with someone. You're gonna have to spend the rest of your life with another one, and then you're just gonna have to straight up kill someone.
I think you got to fuck Leia. All right. I think you got to fuck Leia.
Yeah,
I think I would marry Natalie Portman.
of course you wouldn't marry Natalie Portman.
Yeah, and then I would kill Ray. And that's not because anything towards Ray. It's just like uh, I wish I had the opportunity, but gun to my head, and I got to pick one or the other. Ray's got to go. There's
Yeah,
just too.
sorry, Daisy Johnson.
Yeah, Daisy Ridley.
Oh my God, Daisy Ridley. You're right.
It's okay. You got Rian Johnson, and you got the baby in.
There you go. I got it somewhere. Wait, who's Daisy Johnson? I feel like that is a name.
I don't.
Johnson.
I have no idea who
Yeah,
Daisy.
Daisy Johnson is Quake from
Oh,
Shield. That's why I call. Yeah, Daisy Ridley.
all is forgiven.
And I was thinking because when Smash Brothers came out, the new one, they unveiled Daisy and Ridley the dragon, and everyone was like,
Oh
Daisy
yes,
Ridley announced. And
yes,
I'm like, thank you, internet.
yeah. But I mean, like, it's. I guess my wife will see this eventually. I mean, you just can't beat the idea of Princess Leia and her buns or in the slave costume. You don't have an equivalent because in today's world, could you imagine if they said, "Hey, Ray, we appreciate you and Disney and the current area that we're in.
Yeah.
By the way, we're going to put you in a very sexy outfit, and you have to be next to this dirty slug and model for a bunch of children now in Disney." No, you can't do that now.
No, and Carrie Fisher has talked about how she enjoyed wearing that costume because she was enslaved by Java, and then she killed him.
Yeah.
And it was her reclaiming stuff. So it's a very smart scene. And I agree with you. I think if it's done today, I don't think that thought process would be behind it. And I don't think you have an actress like Carrie Fisher. Like Carrie Fisher knows her or knew her shit, excuse me.
Yeah, she's a badass, man. If you ever see the interviews with her, she's so funny, man.
I've read all her books. She's hysterical. Like her book Wishful Drinking. And she talks about like waking up next to her friend who died in her bed. Like she went through shit, you know what I mean?
I didn't know that. That's intense.
And she, in her last book, The Princess Diaries, she talked about her love for Han and how they dated and everything. So
they did date. They banged, right? Like
I think they banged. I think I don't remember the book because it's been like 5 years since I read it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, her and Harrison Ford hooked up. In some way, shape, or form.
I got to think so. I gotta think so.
All right. So switching gears, we're gonna talk about the X-Men. Tell me, what's your first memory?
So I had to think about this one, and I actually had to Google it. So I was trying to think, what's the first thing I had, right? And I remember there's a video game on Super Nintendo called Spider-Man's Quest or something like that versus Arcade or something like Spider-Man versus the Arcade, and it was the hardest fucking game ever.
It was.
I don't know. No, you know which game I'm talking about?
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
It was Storm. It was Wolverine, Spider-Man, and I think Cyclops were the four character in it. And I guess the story was like Arcade trapped them, and you had to beat the dude. I think I got through like 2 levels, and I'm like, yeah, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah, it came out. I'm pulling up the Wikipedia page. It came out in '92. Yeah. And yeah, it was. I'm actually what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be going through all of the X-Men video games because you can actually play some of these on like simulators online. So I'm going to book you for this one, and we're going to try to beat it. Yeah. I remember being extremely frustrated with this game.
Yes, it's extremely frustrating.
And the Sega Genesis one that came out later.
Yeah. I never played Sega Genesis. I was that bougie. I was stuck on Duck Hunt and Spider-Man.
Duck Hunt. Jesus Christ, I forgot about that until now. With that fucking gun that never worked.
And the dog that laughed at you.
Oh my God, that fucking dog. And it's obviously he's in Smash Brothers. And I'm triggered every time I see him. But I remember trying to point that gun. Have you met our cousin Roy before?
I don't think so. Maybe.
So Roy is a year older than me, so we were kind of raised like brothers. And we would play that game with the power gun, and we also had the power glove as well. And trying to shoot like a fucking old school TV that Abuela had with like the antennas,
the
and
4x3 and the curved screen on it, like into glass.
And I literally am going up to like the glass and banging. Like I was like 4 at the time. It was insane. But
yeah.
Okay, so Arcade's Revenge. That's which character did you just like?
I think so. Spider-Man definitely was the one I tried doing. Wolverine was he had like a level where he's like playing with the clowns and stuff. That fucked me up as a kid, dude. I remember playing that level and like they're just clowns and like I can't do this. Like there was like one part where this giant thing pops up and I was like, nah, I'm out. The storm level was just too hard. I just couldn't do it, Paul. I'm telling
I'm
you,
sorry.
it brings back bad memories.
I'm sorry I triggered you.
I did, and like that's what happened. I looked it up and I started watching. I'm like, oh my god, I remember spending countless hours, and I'm just relapsing right now. This is why I hate this. And like you compare it to video games nowadays, and you're just like there's one part where like you're swinging as Spider-Man and you're attacking the Rhino guy, and
Yeah.
it's just like no, no
No,
thanks.
there was another where my mind goes is the Sega Genesis X-Men game where you have to actually turn off the Sega Genesis in order to continue because it's like the danger room needs to reset or reboot. I'm like forgetting what it was. And I, for the life of me, could never figure it out. And because I was like a fucking idiot kid, I'm like, I don't know how to save anything. So I would literally play this game over and over again for months until I think someone told me it was like in a Game Pro or like Nintendo Power article or Wizard or
Nintendo
something like
Power.
that. And probably not Wizard, but and I was like,
Sorcerer,
oh,
remember
that's it.
Sorcerer? He probably didn't have a hat on.
Dude, that was iconic. That conversation, I love it, man. That's why I love Falcon the Winter Soldier, as
It's
we'll get into it.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But MCU, your general feels on the MCU?
I love it, man. I mean, again, I think it just plays into it. I think they wrote it well. I think they kind of you didn't realize that you're getting introduced into the MCU when you were watching the original Iron Man's, and all of a sudden, boom! By the way, there's a whole MCU universe, and this is happening. And then you start seeing relationships, and they start doing the end credit scenes, and that's like when you're like, there's an ongoing bigger plot here, and it's just like the second phase movies. I think that's where it really starts hitting you.
Well, I think it's just so like they got their shit together. And again, it's Kevin Feige who
Mm-hmm.
is able to assemble all the movies. He's like the only producer for the films. He's the only person who has that moniker. And he told a story. And I think that's why they're so successful. I like the MCU. I appreciate that shared narrative. You know what I mean? Like I think it's a really smart approach to it.
And
And I
it's
why it's been consistent.
and I think it's like what's crazy is like they were still doing all these other movies in parallel, like the Fantastic Fours and like the other ones, and it's like it's in my opinion still the same universe, and I feel like it's like there's so many great stories in parallel to all this
Hmm.
that like I wish they could tie into it, but they can't because they don't own rights or they don't do this and that, so they're just going to keep making crappy Fantastic Four movies.
Well, they own the rights now. Now they
Yeah,
own the
now they do.
rights.
Now
Now
they
they do.
know.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, back then, yeah.
yeah.
I so that's good because that segues actually into what I know the response to this as well. Your feels on WandaVision.
Oh, I loved it, man. I thought they did a great job. I loved, help me out here, Angela
Elizabeth Olsen.
Harkless.
Agatha Harkness. Yeah,
Agatha Harkness.
yeah.
Like I thought, I love that actress. Like when they start
Oh,
doing like
Catherine Hahn.
it's hi, it's me. Actually, like I was dying the entire time, dude. Dying,
Well,
dying, dying. I thought it was great.
well, she's such a fucking campy actress,
Mhm.
and she delivered the role so well. She couldn't hit the highs and lows. And there's like YouTube video that I just saw the other day. It's like 2 minutes of Agatha throwing shade.
Yeah,
And she really is. It's
yeah,
like that line. She's like, when Wanda's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Who are you?"
yeah. No, I thought Vision was awesome in it, man. I thought the way they portrayed Vision in the whole WandaVision thing, like it was just crazy to think like he wasn't himself, but yet he still was in some
Yeah.
capacity. I love that whole I loved Vision and all of it.
I thought it was very just beautiful and it was true to the original comic, the Vision
Hmm.
and Scarlet Witch run that came out in the 80s. And there were two volumes for it, but I thought it hit it. I think we have Wanda in a very curious position. This is a thing I've said, and I've gotten in so much trouble for saying it. And I feel it's going to be the same thing for Falcon the Winter Soldier. I think they're great shows. They're very smart. They're well done. Obviously, as an MCU audience member, you want to see the next chapter. You want to see these characters, but I think they're skippable. If you just want to watch the movies, I think Falcon the Winter Soldier is going to end with Falcon becoming Captain America.
Right,
How could it not?
right.
But we already knew he was going to become Captain America when he accepted the shield. This is just segueing, but
Yeah,
now it's going to go back on the right course. Similar
right.
to WandaVision, there is a really great story there of her kids and everything, and I think we'll get the Young Avengers eventually. But I think all you're going to need to know when Doctor Strange 2 picks up is that Wanda now calls herself the Scarlet Witch and has a new plan.
Right.
That's
Right.
it.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, we'll get into it, but Falcon Winter Soldier just feels like a buddy cop movie. I feel like I'm watching Lethal Weapon, but today.
So you're enjoying it.
I am. I'm enjoying it. It feels like I'm watching a crime drama.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
I think it's so good. I think it's, and I thought WandaVision was very emotional. I think Falcon the Winter Soldier is very smart. And
Yes.
I was surprised at how smart it was and how they're tackling questions about systemic racism, about trauma,
Yeah.
about what it means to be a superhero in today's world. Like when John Walker was throwing that shield down and like everyone whipped out their phones and
That's
recorded.
exactly right.
Like,
Yeah, that's real. That's
you know,
100% real. You can snap half of them away. That's not going away.
and even the ideology of the flag smashers being like we liked the world before because we weren't divided, like everyone was unified and like people were just desperate to come back together.
Yeah.
And what happened was the world changed, and now when it came back they're trying to go back to
Yeah.
how it was.
Yeah, and it's just listen again. Go back to I can't control it. Why am I doing this? And I like the part where he's just like asking him, like, "Hey, by the way, you're a supremacist. No matter how you think you're slicing this in one way, shape, or form." It's like, ooh.
Yeah, those were, I mean, again, those were conversations that I wouldn't have drawn those parallels. But so how do you feel about Anthony Mackie as Falcon?
Um, I don't think I'm torn. I think he's the right person for it as much as it can be. I don't know the character well enough, like from the comics, to like differentiate if like he's playing it right or wrong. I just don't know how I feel about Anthony Mackie as an actor just generally.
Okay.
I think he's kind of dry. Like I think his best movie was like The Adjustment Bureau. I think he did a
Mhm.
really good job there. But I at the same point in time, if I'm going to criticize, I got to give a recommendation. I can't really put somebody else that I would recommend in the role. So maybe he is right, and I just don't have an appreciation of the character.
Do you remember when we were driving to Key West, we talked about that Black Mirror episode of the virtual
Yes.
fighters? So I
Yes.
talked about this in our episode 1 of recap, specifically, that car ride that we had. Anthony Mackie was the character in there. He was a Ryu actor in there.
Was he?
Yeah, he was. I'm forgetting the character's name.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
weird.
so yeah, I know, because it just didn't feel like him. And the reason why I bring that up is because I think Anthony Mackie, first of all, I really like him. I do think he's good for the
Mm.
rest. Someone who's familiar with the comics and everything. I actually think he's given Sam a lot more visibility. I mean, you can say that about every character,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's in the MCU right now, because the Avengers were D-list before. But I think Anthony
Right.
Mackie is doing a great job. But he does stuff that's really smart. You know what I mean? And I think, whether it's him or a writer or a producer, he's delivering the lines in a very smart way. Like that scene at the bank in episode 1 where they
Mm-hmm.
denied him a loan. Like you can tell
Yeah.
he's trying to play it up for him, but at the same time he's here like, you're not going to give me a fucking loan. Like I'm the
Yes.
Falcon. You know what I mean? And
That scene just hits you, right? You're just like, do you know who I am? Oh, I do. Can't give you this
selfie.
loan, but can I get a selfie? Yeah. And you're just like, that
Yeah.
is the world. That is 100% the world that we live in right now. Paul, I was driving on 836 today, and I just saw like these spring breakers just on the roof of the car clapping their asses.
Oh my
And
God.
I just imagine like, yeah, that's going to happen in one of these Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes where you're just going to have people Instagramming in back one of these scenes, and yeah,
Especially in Madripoor.
yeah,
And listeners, 836 is the Florida Turnpike, which has probably the most accidents in the state of Florida. I have been on many accidents on the
yes.
state of Florida, on 836. Some that I have caused and others that I was a victim of. But
Privy to.
I almost died on the turnpike. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
My dad, when I graduated from Miami-Dade, he got me a Z4, and I loved
Nice.
that car so much.
That was the James Bond car from the
That
whatever that.
was,
Yeah. Oh no, the
and
Z3. Sorry, the Z3 was
yeah,
the
it
new
was
one.
the Z3 was the one that Pierce Brosnan
That's right.
drove, and then the Z4 was the updated model. But I was
Yeah.
like, I fucking have this car, like it's so cool. And I was coming home from Tallahassee exactly like that with my Starbucks strawberry frappuccino. But I was coming
Mm.
back with Jeff. We had only started dating. And there's always construction on the 836. And we had to stop. And this truck driver, a lumberjack truck driver, fell asleep at the wheel. He failed to brake and he ran us over. And you know how small that car is. Thankfully,
Yeah.
we had the top up, thank God. But we ended up on the other side of the turnpike. And literally we came out and like I was like gushing from my forehead. And yeah, man,
Wasn't
it was
this a
just
Final Destination movie? Oh no, it's
uh
a lumber car, but like all the logs are
yeah,
falling off
yeah,
the
all the
back of it.
locks. No, it wasn't as horrible. But what ended up happening was after it kind of like pushed us to the other side of the highway. It smashed into another car and it went like an accordion. So this guy was pinned between like his back seat and the steering wheel. It was awful, man. It was like I couldn't get the stuff. I was coming back from winter break. I couldn't get my Sex and the City DVDs for my trunk, excuse me, because they were holding the car for a homicide investigation. That's
Wow.
how bad it was, man. And Jeff had to go to like rehab for a couple of years. But
Wow.
so, listeners, the 836 in Florida, beware.
Don't do it.
Don't do
Don't
it.
do it.
Take
or
the
drive a
Palmetto.
tank. That's why I drive a truck now, man.
That's right. Oh, I can't wait to see your truck. Are you going to be driving to?
I am. We need something with enough horsepower to pull us out of the mud when we get dirty. You know, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, listeners, we are going on a camping trip in 2 weeks with George.
Camping, not glamping.
Yeah, no, it's camping. I've never been glamping or camping either. I've never done anything. So
an Australian man taught me, you know, what you do is you dig 2 holes when you take a shit. You know, you shit in one hole a little bit, you let that go in, and then you go to the other hole while all the flies go to that one, and that way you can poop in peace. There you go, man.
This is gonna be fun. I'll probably wipe my ass with like poison ivy, and I'm like, "What? It was red. I liked it."
But I got an itchy asshole now.
Story of my life. I was on a trail yesterday, and I'm pretty sure I encountered poison ivy, but I don't know how to like, differentiate anything. So I'm gonna leave it to you.
Yeah, I got you. I'll whip out a phone and say, yeah, that looks like it.
Speaking of itchy assholes, what do you think of Sebastian Stan as Bucky?
You know, I don't know if he's just a dry actor. I haven't seen him in other stuff, or that's just how the character is. You know, is he the same guy that they want to do for like Luke Skywalker, like a possible?
Yeah, that's exactly 100%.
Okay, I don't know. I think he was really good in the Winter Soldier. I think he was really good in all the Marvel movies. The show, I just feel like they're just trying to make him as sexy as possible because he's a great looking guy and he's in great shape. It's just I don't know if like they're just artificially trying to create this hostility between the two of them, because I feel like at this point in time they would just be like, all right, can we move on and be buddies now? And they're not buddies yet, so I don't know if they're forcing that storyline on purpose, or that's just, again, I don't have an appreciation for it.
I like their chemistry. I forgot who I was speaking about it with, which, sidebar listeners, I got my COVID shot yesterday and I'm feeling it now. And I'm like, I think I had a conversation with someone about this, but I think you can tell that the actors worked on their chemistry. I do think it's stiff sometimes. Like you can tell they know they're being cute.
Yes.
And it's less organic. It feels like you just said manufactured.
But you know what didn't feel manufactured? That scene where they're getting interviewed, or they're getting interviewed by the what's it called? The
psychologist.
The psychologist, and like, no, get closer, get closer. It's like, are we close enough?
So
that scene's funny.
Yeah, I'm obsessed. So in WandaVision, I was obsessed with the actress who did the commercials, Victoria Blade. With Falcon the Winter Soldier, I am obsessed with the psychologist. I can't find her on social media. I haven't looked really, but I blew up Victoria Blade's like DMs. I mean, like, you need to come on the show so I can talk to you. To the point that I never got a response. And now I think I'm going to do it with Amy because I would love to. I think the actress kills it.
Paul, have you ever been blocked?
Have I
by a famous person?
No, I haven't. Have you?
I don't think so.
I don't really
like on Twitter or Instagram. Like, have you like, hey, come on my show, and then they just like, nope.
No, everyone's been really great to me. Like,
Good.
I slide into a lot of people's DMs, with the exception of Victoria Blade, who has ignored me. And like, that's why she wasn't in the last 2 episodes of WandaVision. But apart from her, everyone has kind of gotten back to me, and they've either said yes, or they've just been like, I can't make the schedule happen, but hit me up later. So no, I mean, thankfully, knock on wood. But I do think in like my personal account, I don't know. Like I really am afraid that one day, like an old tweet from like 2009 will show up that I don't even remember writing.
Oh, you'll get flamed for it. Don't worry.
And then get flamed for it. But I think maybe for like reality TV shows, when it was happening, when you didn't understand that it was more theatrical and there was a production, I'm sure I tweeted something at someone, and especially on RuPaul's Drag Race. And I think maybe someone responded to me saying, "You're blocked," or something like that.
RuPaul, is that the guy that did the it's a song, and like in the beginning he's talking about like, then this girl got found and now she's a supermodel.
Yeah. Wait, hang
That's his
on. I
song.
don't know. I don't know
It's
what
like,
she has. Like,
wow, cover
oh yeah,
girl.
yeah.
That's it, right?
Yes. Put that bass in your walk, head
Yes,
to
that's
toe.
it.
Yes. Let your whole body talk.
Yes,
And
that's
what?
it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So RuPaul has a drag race competition that's like, dude, it's going on like 16 seasons now. So yeah, I'm
Wow.
sure like season 3, when I was like 22 and like didn't know what Twitter was, I was like, I'm having this for lunch, and also fuck you to fuck you to whoever was there. But or even the Amazing Race, dude. I was into the Amazing Race, and like I probably was nasty. There was a season with like these two people who were the models. It was this guy and this girl, and I thought they were awful human beings.
I
So
love
yeah,
that show. That I remember that one person lost because they wouldn't slide down like 100-foot slide, and that was like the last thing to happen before you'd win $1 million.
I
And
would
that's
love
because
to be on the Amazing Race.
yeah,
I feel like I can do it. I feel like I'm sporty enough.
let's do it, Paul.
Wow, we will audition. Okay, wait. So before we dive into the episode, I have 2 more questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon Carter, what are your feels on her?
Eh,
Eh,
I think
yeah,
she's attractive.
yeah, she's cute.
I think it's hard because didn't she like make out with what's it called, Chris Evans or
Yeah,
Captain America?
yeah.
And then I just remember that scene where Falcon and Winter Soldier, they just turn back and they're just in the back of the boat like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And she's Peggy Carter's grand niece.
Sometimes you got to take one for the team.
Do you, on the subject of Chris Evans, I feel like his shadow is looming over the series. I think he needs to show up at this point.
There needs to
Again, I'm
be
not saying he needs
something.
to, like, we need to know where he's at right now and why he's not weighing in. Like, everyone's saying, like, Steve would be disappointed and everything. It's like,
He's not
this,
dead,
he's
right?
not dead.
He's an old man with Peggy just dancing to that awesome song in their cabin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Peggy's supposed to be dead because
Oh, that's a good point.
she died during Winter Soldier, or was it Civil War? I think it was Civil War she died. It opens with her funeral. So I don't know if she's supposed to be dead, but like, yeah, like, come on, man. Like, fuck
I don't know.
that.
I don't know. I would have gone for the younger one, but I'm biased.
All right, so let's dive into the episode. If
Let's
you don't
talk
mind.
about it.
So we open up with a flashback to Wakanda,
Mm-hmm.
and we find out how Bucky was able to overcome his programming.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really emotional, intense scene, and I wasn't expecting it.
Either was I, and it was super humanizing. It's almost like, hey, we did this for you. You're
Yeah.
good now, and it's like it's okay. You're safe, and like you see him break down. And that breakdown is just like, oh my god, I'm finally free of this, right?
Yeah. No, and it was beautiful. And we understand his relationship with Ayo, who is from the Wakandan Guard. And it's just really powerful. And I love how she's here, like, we're here for Zemo. He killed our king. Like, how could you have like released him? And I even thought that too. I was like, why would you have released him when you have a character like Ayo? But I mean, they needed him,
Can I
obviously,
tell
to
you?
break down.
I love that Zemo character. I love him so much. Like just like he's like a perfect like neutral character to me where like he doesn't have ulterior motives. He just wants like he could give a shit about anything. It's just his own agenda. Like I like him. I like the character personally.
Yeah, no, I think he's a really great character. When he was first in Civil War, the character was a
Mhm.
little stagnant,
He
but they
was.
they really brought him in, and I think Daniel Braw, I'll repronounce his name, is doing like a phenomenal job with
Mm-hmm.
him, and
Mm-hmm.
I just think it looks absolutely wonderful. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
his coat. I mean, that's directly from the comics.
Good. Good, good, good.
You know, so they're on the hunt for the flag smashers, and
What a
Sam
horrible name, by the way. Like is that the name from the comic books? Because I think that's a like or like Black Star. They also gave like the buddy guy
Battlestar.
Black Battlestar. Like, wow, what a name.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously Battlestar was like really big in this. I can't believe they killed Battlestar. I
But you know what? Everything. If you look at the episode in retrospect, everything was leading to something. Somebody's got to die.
Yeah,
Something's got to happen. And you knew this Captain America at some point has to have a point where they shift away from being like he's not as pure as Chris
Steve.
Evans was as Steve, and it's like,
But it was I feel like they did it really well because
mm-hmm,
he cared. we can all hate John Walker. I think he's an awful human being. He's worse than Thanos. I know Wyatt Russell is getting such horrible fan mail. Like people hate him, but he's doing a great job doing that. They've done a great job of humanizing him, and you
Hmm.
understand what makes him work.
Hmm.
And you can't fault them for showing those layers. And so his buddy dies, and that's what sends him off. And that fucking ending, man.
I know, but I mean, if you think about it, Paul, the same situation happened with Steve and Bucky,
Yeah.
and look how Steve Rogers came out of it. You know.
Wow. I did not even draw those parallels until right now.
Hmm.
Mm, 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 mm,
Well
mm,
played, sir. Well played.
mm, mm. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Well, that's where it's exactly, I don't know if we hit record when we were talking about this, but absolute power, when someone gets power, their native personality comes out.
That's
And
right.
with Steve, it was to charge on and do the good thing. With
That's
John
right.
Walker, it's like, you killed my best friend. Now I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yeah, it's like and he is more human because of it. Because like, here's the thing: what are the options? He could have gone the self-righteous Captain America path, and then great, we don't have a story now. He truly is a, the sword in the stone to pull it out. No,
Yeah.
he is a human. He is now going to be on camera. He's going to be the bad guy. I foresee, because of social media, something's going to happen where he's going to be pulled out of the out, and he's going to take everything. He's going to get revenge, and these two guys are going to be like, you know what, we got to get this shield back.
Yeah. What did you think of the shield at the end with the blood dripping off of it?
I think we talked about it earlier, dude. Like, what a symbolism at
Yeah.
the end of it, where it's like, and it's that upward angle. It's that upward angle, seeing the blood coming from that. Like, dude, you don't see blood in a Disney movie.
No.
It's like, for them to have done that, say shit a couple times in the episode. Like, I'm like, mm,
Yeah.
they didn't go soft on this one at all. I mean, like, blood on the shield. Think about that for a second. That's what it is. The
Yeah.
shield has been tainted.
Yeah, yeah, and Anthony Mackie's Sam should not have given it up. And I think this episode, not much happened, but a lot happened.
Hmm.
And I think one of the parallels that we saw with John Walker was Sam, and why he is a spiritual successor to Steve Rogers, because he wanted to talk to Carly, who's in charge of the Flag Smashers, and
Hmm.
he almost reached her. And then there's fucking John Walker, who in the comic books is U.S. Agent. U.S. Agent just like charging
Goes
in
right in.
and like just fucks something up, and you're almost like, dude, you should have just shut the fuck up and let them do things.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean?
Like, so I mean, I didn't know that he was U.S. agent. And what's the question I'm looking for here is how does it escalate from here now? I don't know
I,
what I'm asking.
no, I think the MCU loves to respect the source material. It doesn't necessarily follow it verbatim. I think
Mhm.
now we have an evil super soldier in John Walker, and I think maybe he'll have a redemption arc and he'll be reintroduced as U.S. Agent down the line.
I mean,
But
you just know it. You saw the moment that he took that serum, right? He, like, what's it called? Zemo crushed them all. That one
yeah,
was left.
the
He took that,
super
and
soldier serum.
it's like right after his buddy was like, "Hey man, would you take it?" And he's like, "I think so."
So I think what we're going to get in the comic books, U.S. Agent and White Vision and Wanda were in the West Coast Avengers.
I
So
see.
they've kind of planted the seeds there. I think we're going to get the West Coast Avengers and the Young Avengers, because the twins, Wanda's twins, are in Young Avengers, grown up, obviously.
Got it. What a crazy thought too, Paul, is, I mean, if you think about it, they think what made Captain America was that serum,
Yeah,
and it's like,
and
nah,
it's
man,
not. It was
it's not.
Steve. It was his native personality. It's like Luke Skywalker.
It's
You know what I
exactly
mean?
right.
It's what made him good was who he was.
You know what I didn't like? I didn't like how, okay, you're fighting a bunch of bad guys, right?
Yeah.
Think about in a real world. Boom, one of them actually dies in this fight. Everybody stops and stares while he
Yeah.
walks over to his buddy. It's like, oh shit, we actually fought and killed somebody. We should all take a moment here and let him console. No, in a real freaking fight, they would have been like, oh, one guy's down. Let's all keep on fighting and tackle him now.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Um, I agree. It was just like a really weird. That was a weird story beat, but I really liked the Malaji coming in and them fighting,
that was
Battlestar
cool.
and faux Captain America.
Uh,
And we see that Sam and Winter Soldier can hold their own against, because they're heroes. They don't have
Right.
the super soldier serum, but they're heroes. But like the other two are just novices.
Oh
They're
yeah.
like playing dress up, and like they wipe the floor with them.
It goes back to it. Remember, it's like, wow, they weren't even like supers or whatever. Like they were even like superhumans. Like they were
Yeah.
like, and they kicked our asses. Like how could we ever be, backups to this? And to your point, they were even like, do we help them? Do we jump in? They're like, I guess we got to jump in. They're actually going to kill them.
Yeah. But it was a great episode. When I was thinking about it from a recap, and also like I think you and I like sounding off like paragraphs like doesn't sound organic to our conversations, but not much happened from a plot point other than, he Battlestar dies and then John Walker kills
Yeah.
one of the flag smashers. And
If you want,
that's
like the last like how to if you want to think about how can I just watch this episode really quick, just go to the last 15 minutes, watch that, and then you're good.
I agree. Are you ready for some listener questions?
Let's do this.
Okay.
Light it up.
All right. Are you ready? This is going to be fun, man. Like some
Got
of
it.
these are really shady. So I asked for some Star Wars hot takes to put
Uh-huh.
you in the hot seat. So the first one that came in, I like the sequels because they were fun and brought new fans to the franchise. Yeah, that's actually really lovely.
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
every single thing here is a generational item, right? And so I think if that brings new people in, and I can talk to new people and get different perspectives, I'm all for it.
The X-Men are better. Shut up. I think the X-Men have a lot more history to draw on than Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars from a comics perspective.
I mean, when did they start writing X-Men comics? Back in the 50s,
60s.
60s? I
Yeah.
mean, that's right about the same time. It's the same imagination, same time period.
I agree. I agree. Luke versus Logan. Who wins?
Luke versus Logan. I think Logan. I really do. I don't think Luke would actually kill Wolverine.
I think, yeah, I don't think Luke would kill Wolverine, but I think if it's Mandalorian Luke, I
Ooh,
think
maybe.
he can hold his own. I think
Yeah.
he can neutralize. Look, if it was a battle to the death, I think Logan would win. But if
I
it's neutralized and move on, I think it's going to be Luke.
yeah, that's the question. Are we sitting here saying to the death, like one of you must die or both of you die? I actually think Luke would do it. Luke would just pick you up and just throw you somewhere, choke
Uh,
you.
I agree. No, and I think they would be friends at the end. I think they'd
I think
drink
so.
some blue milk or blue beer together. George Lucas never had an overarching vision for the original trilogy. What
you
are you?
know, an overarching vision for the original trilogy. I might actually disagree with that one. I don't think that he knew. I don't think that he thought anybody would want to listen to the story. So maybe in the first episode, in episode 4, New Hope, he probably didn't think anybody would grab on. But after that, there's absolutely you can see a pathway to more items, more plots. I mean, he definitely had a vision. It's just that people want to listen to that vision.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, like everything that happens during production, it just gets kind of like lost.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like redo things. But
Mm-hmm.
Boba Fett is overrated. I
I
disagree
agree.
with that.
I
Really?
really, yeah, I think he's way overrated. He's got like 5 minutes of story time, and everybody just likes him because he's got cool gear, cool stuff, and like all the merchandise with him. Not that I'm not a Boba Fett fan. Yeah, he's cool. I think he's cooler in The Mandalorian than he is in the movie.
Yeah. How did you feel about that twist that he was back?
Oh, I liked it. I think, but the question is, did they bring him back because of the nostalgia and everybody? I think so. You
I
know,
I thought it was genuine surprise. I think he's a popular character.
yeah,
You need to use that IP. At the end of the day, Marvel, Disney, they are an IP business,
yes,
and they need to they have characters that sell merchandise that people are genuinely interested in. Put them on
absolutely
the
agree
table.
with
They
you.
would be stupid not to.
You know what I didn't like though that Disney did though, and I communicated this with you in the Last Jedi when that little kid at the end of the movie like picks up the broom and like he's like, yeah, you can be a Jedi too. Fuck you, Disney. Don't put that shit in my movie. Don't you dare make all these little kids think that they can be fucking Jedis and that they can have superpowers. Fuck you.
Oh my
No, don't put
god!
any more of that shit.
And I literally went on a rant. I remember this was years ago when I was like, "Oh, and I love that ending with the little boy grabbing the broom," and you were like, "No,"
No,
and that's a
fuck
lot
that.
of people. Yeah, but again, if I'm not putting on my Star Wars hat, I think when you look at just the writing and the story, that makes sense to me.
Yes, absolutely does.
However, as a Star Wars fan, yes, I can understand where that's like really pissing off.
Yes.
Okay, we have so many questions, but I'm just going to narrow it down to two more because I think this is a really good one. What are your thoughts about Freddie Prinze Jr.'s rant on the toxic fandom?
Um,
And you sent that to me a long time ago
yeah,
about,
I like the content of it. I feel like he's mansplaining, and then anytime you see Freddie Prinze Jr. being a bro and like cursing like that, just throws me off. He's
yeah.
always played like really kind of non-manly roles. Anyways, besides that
Yeah, he
point,
called
uh,
like dog. Like he was
yeah,
like, yo, dog.
yeah,
And like,
yeah. I heard. I'm like, who are you? What are you saying here? I like. I. But the content is good. He's.
Mhm.
Yeah, what I didn't like is that it felt very mansplaining, and then it felt very like I'm above you. I'm better than you. I know this. Don't you dare challenge me. And I think this whole conversation should always be a collaborative. And yeah, is there a vision? Sure, but I mean, there's also an interpretation of certain items, and that's what's important to the whole culture of this. So
Yeah, I loved his interpretation of the Force and the Force being of balance. And that's why after Anakin went to the dark side, you got two new ones
mhm.
because it's all about balance. But
Yeah,
he
that's
could have
cool.
delivered it a little bit more digestible. But
I
listeners, you can
agree.
find that on YouTube. Just Google Freddie Prinze Jr. Star Wars rant.
Yeah,
And at the very least, I agree with you. He was condescending. He was here like, I have insider information that all of you don't.
right.
It was, if you can divorce that, I think what he said was
It's
interesting.
great content. Listen,
Yeah,
outside of that, great content. This is not about you now, Freddie. I'm glad that you have that information. Don't act like you're special. Share it with the rest of us so we all
share.
can be equal.
Okay, final question. Why have I yet to see coffee in the galaxy far, far away?
Actually, that's not true. In The Mandalorian, didn't let somebody leave a Starbucks cup in one of the episodes?
No, isn't that? No, that's Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is Game of Thrones. That's something else. Why is there no coffee? Uh, that's a very good question. I don't have an answer for that one. I mean, if I got to make something up here, because nobody likes addictive items in a long, long time ago, and coffee beans are maybe only on Earth.
That is a very great answer, and I think we should take coffee beans to a galaxy far, far away and open our own version of Starbucks.
We would probably make a whole lot of money.
My God, can you imagine like Luke Skywalker coming in wanting a frappuccino
Do
or a seasonal latte?
you think he likes it light or dark? Hey,
Oh, boom. And with that, Mr. Magoo, this was such an honor to have you on. I
sir,
I had so much fun.
Mr. Dayspring, it's always a pleasure.
And you have a private social media account, so I'm not going to ask where people can find you, but they can find you on the Power of X-Men Instagram because I always throw up photos and I always shout you out. So, and when we go on our camping trip in a couple weeks, I mean, it's going to be all over there. So, boom.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'll get a tattoo of it.
All right. I am the Uncanny Dayspring signing on.